district.
Share. Wait, oh no. Here we go. It is not doing what I want it to do. I just shared the screen in WebEx a minute ago. I'm not sure why it's not doing. Oh, wait, here we go.
Yep, we can see it now.
All right. But I need to put it into, oh, how do I do that? Oh. There we go.
All right. Oh, there's too many screens. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for your patience while we were dealing with our technical, I wouldn't even say difficulties, navigating our technology. Thanks for joining us and ending your evening, which I imagine is a long day, just like us, with us. I'm Jessica Nicklin. I've been the host of these. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Success. And we've been doing these parent hours for about a year. And I think this might be our sixth one or so far, fifth or sixth semester. I'm covering timely topics that we assume or believe that you may have questions about. And, it didn't seem like anything else was appropriate for this particular week other than talking about getting ready to head home for Thanksgiving and what we do know about the spring. I will say that I was thinking about this, earlier while preparing, I don't want to say cooking dinner, while preparing dinner, that this is largely geared toward residential life, I would say. So if your family or a commuter family, you're certainly welcome to hang out and listen and participate. We'd love to have you. But a lot of these questions and topics in discussion will surround the residential life experience. So just kind of to give you a heads up. So if it's feeling like it's not for you, we won't be offended if you decide to sneak out a little bit early. So I think, Jill, you get the award for the most parent hours this semester. I think this might be your third as a guest. Plus, I know you do many other types of events like this. So I'm sure that families are familiar with your name and face. But thank you for joining us again and talking about everything you need to know about fall ending and spring beginning. So I'll turn it over to you and your team.
Well, thank you so much, Jess, and welcome to everybody this evening. It is certainly late and, getting technology to work. We keep saying that, we've been doing this for a long time, so you think it would get easier, but occasionally WebEx seems to be a little bit finicky. So again, thank you for your patience as we, work through those details. My name is Jill Engel-Hellman, and again, as Jess said, I have probably met many of you before. I've talked on the phone to a number of you, as well as also spent time on email and those kinds of things. So we're really glad that you're here this evening. I use she, her, hers, and I am the Director of Residential Life. I have two wonderful staff members from our team here tonight, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Oh, well, hi. My name is Sheree Baltimore. I identify as she, her, hers. I'm an RA in Olmsted in A Complex. I'm a sophomore this year, and I'm an audio engineering and technology major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yoani. I also identify as she, her, hers. I'm an RA in Village Quad 3. This is my last year, senior year, and I'm management major with a risk management and insurance minor at the Barney School.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that our RAs are really busy, and we are really lucky to have them this evening. So I thought we'd start with a little bit of fun, that it really has been a great semester. It's been pretty different, though. So we have some pictures to share and RAs to talk about them.
Alrighty, so in this first picture, these are just pictures of different events that have been held on campus. We've had plant making, we've done a lot of events in Alumni Plaza, which is located right in front, right behind Commons or in front of Park Hall. They've done yoga, we've done game nights, we've had food truck Fridays, and we've tried to keep students engaged and having fun while on campus because we understand that these are really trying times and that it can be hard to make friends and to find things to do. So that's one thing we were really trying to fight back against this semester.
So on the village side, there's a lot of space, so we try to utilize that as much as possible. We've had movies on the lawn. They give out free blankets, lawn chairs. We've also had bingo on the lawn, which is a lot of fun. The weather's been really nice lately, so people have really been taking advantage of the fact that it's been 70 degrees for about a week now. So yeah, the lawn is just a great place to hang out with your friends. RHA hosts things every other week, so it really keeps everyone on campus entertained.
Yes, definitely. Like these are pictures from another RHA event. This was a game night. They had like screens up for like Just Dance, and um they had like different racing games, different games that people could play in person while also staying socially distanced. And they wiped down the controllers after every use. They did everything they could to make sure that everyone could come outside, have a good time while staying socially distanced and staying safe while on campus.
Thank you so much. And I really want to highlight the hard work that our resident advisors have put in this semester, as well as our members of RHA, which is our Residence Hall Association, and some of our other student leaders that work with our Office of Student Engagement and Inclusion. I think that they have done a great job pivoting and figuring out how we can engage with one another, but in socially distanced ways. And it's really been a wonderful semester. So moving on, a little bit of information about Move Out.
All right, so fall move out, the residential halls close this semester on Tuesday, November 24th at 10 p.m. Students should leave at different times. Everyone doesn't have to leave at 10 p.m. If you have classes that end before that, you can leave before then. And also, we don't want to encourage everyone to leave at the same time. So everyone can move out safely and remain socially distanced while departing campus. Students should complete a late stay request form if they are unable to leave on or before Tuesday, November 24th, due to a late class or any issues that come up with traveling, because we understand anything can happen in the next couple of weeks before move out. We also encourage social distancing and masks being worn throughout the fall move out process, inside buildings, outside of buildings. When you're walking around people, we please stay socially distanced and wear your masks. Guests are not allowed in any of the campus halls or buildings. Guests must stay outside of residential halls at all times. This is just to keep everyone in the building safe and everyone outside of the building, especially during move out. It can be very hectic, and we want to encourage socially distancing at all times. And guests that are coming on the campus to pick up students, we ask that you fill out the Live Safe Health Survey before arriving. It's about 4 different questions. It asks you your name, email, phone number, and it asks you a couple questions about if you've come in contact with someone who has COVID, if you have any symptoms, and we want to make sure that people are filling this out before you come onto campus. And so we know, so people are staying safe, and so we know who's coming onto campus. And you won't be allowed onto campus without the green check mark that comes if you have no symptoms and if you're okay to come onto campus.
So in terms of break housing, the university's giving 2 different options. There is break housing available after Thanksgiving up until the end of final exams. And then there's also housing available after that for winter break. So It is available for approved students from Wednesday, November 25th to Thursday, January 28th. They must fill out an application to receive prior approval for either break periods. So I would definitely, one of the things that I told my residents was to definitely go on self-service if they were interested and apply. Unfortunately, the date for that was November 5th. So they've already, that date has already passed, but now there is a late fee associated with applying. But I still urge residents who want to do it and who are interested in doing it to definitely reach out to the Office of Residential Life for more information on that.
Absolutely. And just a quick note that those pictures are not from this year, but we thought that we would include some fun pictures of some different things that do go on in our halls, and that hopefully we'll be returning to those things soon. Again, the form is still available through self-service, which is the housing portal that students use to sign up for housing and do different things along those lines. So any information that they might need or to apply, they can just go on to that portal and fill out the form. So COVID testing, and Jess is here and I'm sure can add some information too, because she heads up these efforts on campus. We are allowing students to sign up for a COVID test before leaving campus for Thanksgiving. Space is limited and students must sign up ahead of time. This particular set of tests are being offered free of charge, specifically on November 16th, 17th, and 23rd. My understanding is that all of the slots on the 16th are now full, but there still are a few available on the 17th and more available on the 23rd. Tests are really intended for students returning to households with family members who are high risk, elderly, immunocompromised infants, people that are not having any contact with others, so that we can make sure that they are returning safely. And these are PCR tests, and students can expect those results within 24 to 48 hours. Anybody that cannot secure a slot on campus, or those times or options don't work for their travel plans. I know some students have said they need to have a test within X amount of hours of leaving, and we were not able to schedule tests later in the week of November 16th. There are some different test options available locally. There's generally a cost for those that range between $100 and $150. And 3 of the different options that we provided to students were Health Services, Hartford Healthcare's Go Health Urgent Care, and Physician One. So whoops, not Physical Ones, Physician One. And Sheree, I think you were going to mention something on this slide.
Yes, I am currently one of the students who wanted to get tested before I left. I know that I'm going home to a family who has a lot of immunocompromised people, and I have a very big family, so I know the last thing I would need to do is to go home and not know if I was safe to go home. So I'm getting tested on the 23rd. So when I go home on the 25th, because I'm an RA, I know I'll be safe to go back home.
And Sheree was so excited that she came to testing today. As soon as I saw your name, I was like, wait, I met you today. Just a note, I mean, I'm sure this is happening all over the country, but the labs in Connecticut are backing up. So we've had some pretty good luck with being able to get test results within 2 days typically. But you know, even our health services, they use Quest labs, and you know, tests are taking 5 to 7 days. And I'm sure at, you know, going off campus to any location, whether it's a Quest or a Hartford Healthcare, Physician One, any provider, you know, just when you're thinking about, you know, I worry about people who need to fly, for example, and making sure that they get their test results in time. You know, that test results are taking a little bit longer because the state is just, you know, backed up. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. And again, when we get to the end, Jess Nicklin is the perfect person to ask because she knows lots of things about testing. She is an expert, so it's wonderful that she's here. All right, Ioani?
Yeah, so fall closing procedures. I feel like I've repeated this about 130 times to all of my residents. So it's kind of second nature, but pretty much RAs are going around to all of our residents this week and next week to let them know what's expected of them to leave their space ready to be alone for 2 months. So our pre-closing inspections and our closing meetings with students include telling them how they should prepare their room. So some of the things that we tell them is make sure that you leave your apartment clean. That means taking out all the trash, recycling, not leaving any perishable items in the refrigerator, that kind of thing. And then the second thing would be one of the things that they have to sign on the closing form is, God forbid we cannot come back in the spring, how they are planning to prepare to retrieve their belongings. And a lot of the students that I've talked to are pretty eager, saying that they do want to come back in the spring. So we're all trying to stay positive. And then the third thing is the student housing plans for spring 2021. A lot of students have remote or hybrid classes, so that's really important for the university to know what their plans are for housing in terms of the spring semester. And then the last thing that we talk to them about is facilities issues. So making sure that if there's anything wrong with your apartment, with the windows, because the windows need to be closed and locked before they leave, that's something that they need to report to facilities to make sure that it's taken care of before they leave for winter break.
Absolutely. And I know that our RAs and Ioani said she's been spent all weekend having these conversations, and that many students had a lot of questions, but has felt really good about talking with them individually. So she's been able to go through those. Ioani, just to highlight some differences, refrigerators this year, it's a little bit different, correct?
Yeah, so the mini fridges do not need to be unplugged because the electricity will not be turned off over winter break because there are people staying here. But usually that would be the case where you would need to unplug them and make sure that they're defrosted before you left.
Absolutely. And I think the other big thing is that we're really saying that you have to dispose of all food that's not unopened or not in a Tupperware container. Students will be gone for up to 2 months. And so we really want to make sure, normally if you had a bag of chips and you closed it for a week, it'd probably be fine. But being gone for up to 8 weeks, little critters can sometimes find those. So everything has to be absolutely sealed, unopened, or in a Tupperware type container where it is completely airtight. So a couple of things to remember, as well as we are encouraging lots of people to take their trash out before they leave too. Just a quick reminder. Ray?
Sorry, having issues on meeting. Classes do begin February 1st for all students this year. We pushed it back a few days to give people more time to get back on campus and make sure that people are socially distanced while coming back.
So for spring move-in, due to the Connecticut Travel Advisory, there are 2 different move-in periods. So one is for students who live in states or countries listed on the travel advisory. And if you go to the state of Connecticut Travel Advisory, if you click, I believe it's the first thing that comes up, it will be the website for the state, and you can click and it will tell you for that week which states and countries are part of the travel advisory. It changes every Tuesday. I haven't looked this afternoon, Jess, you'll have to comment whether it's actually changed from last week or not. And then there will be a move-in period for those who do not live in states or countries listed in the travel advisory.
Yeah, it sounds like according to the Connecticut Council of Independent Colleges meeting that I was on today, that I think the governor is expected to make some updates by the end of this week about travel advisory. But I think this is just something that we have to monitor because, while we want to plan for spring and we have to plan for spring, it's also a long time away in the world of COVID. So we'll just continue to monitor that closely and adjust as needed. But this is our plan for now.
Absolutely. And right now we are fully preparing for and expecting to offer an in-person residential experience, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think we've done really well this semester, and our governor certainly has made education a priority for the whole state. So fingers crossed, we'll be in a good place. But again, things could change. As of today, those that are from travel advisory states and countries will need to take these additional steps when they return to the University of Hartford. So they will need to move back onto campus Friday, January 22nd or Saturday, the 23rd. They will need to show documentation of a negative PCR COVID test that was taken within 72 hours prior to moving in. And we will not be accepting antibody or rapid antigen tests. Students cannot move into the residence hall without this test information and or this test result, and information on how to submit those tests will be coming soon. When students move in, they will remain in their spring housing assignment to quarantine from the day they move in until Wednesday, January 27th. And then they will continue to remain in their space quarantining until they get the results of their test. If results are negative, students can resume normal activity on campus. If they are asymptomatic, and if they are positive or students become symptomatic, they will be moved to isolation. And we have how many spaces right now, Jess, for quarantine and isolation on campus?
I think 168.
Okay, so there should be plenty of room. However, this is a little bit different than what we did in the fall because we had students coming from travel advisory states go to those designated spaces. However, what we have found out is that we have a lot more students on the travel advisory list. And it was also difficult for some of our students to not be able to move into their regular housing assignments. So that's really why we've moved to this 2-phase move-in process, is because we want people to get settled into their actual spring housing assignments. And not just move one place and have to move to another. We know that that can be disruptive to our students. Then we have students that are not impacted by the Connecticut Travel Advisory. Right now it's a small group, a very small group. And students who are not coming from these states or countries will move back onto campus between Friday, January 29th and Sunday, January 31st. They will also need to show documentation of a negative PCR COVID test taken within 5 days of moving in. It's a little bit different, but it has to do with travel advisory. These students are not under travel advisory. Please note, we're not accepting antibody or rapid antigen tests. And again, students cannot move into the residence halls without this test result. That's been one of the things that really has been shown to prove institutions that have done well this semester and those that did not are those that have really required these tests prior to moving in and or done testing when students returned. Couple of safety reminders.
We ask that everyone stays socially distanced and wears masks throughout the spring move-in process. Again, guests are not allowed in any of the campus residential halls or buildings, and guests must remain outside the residential halls at all times. And while they are outside, socially distanced, wearing masks above your nose at all times. Guests coming onto campus to drop off students, again, must fill out the Live Safe survey. And in order to know that you are okay to come onto campus, you'll get a green check mark after you fill out like your name, email, phone number, and answer 4 short yes or no questions. Answering 4 short yes or no questions, you'll get the green check mark and you'll be good to go.
And then finally, Ioani?
Okay, and then finally, to wrap it up, one final note, just a reminder, and I tell my residents this all the time, things change very rapidly. We've seen that since the beginning of the fall semester, so I think it's really important that we're all patient and flexible with each other and with the university. I know that a lot of residents hear information from other sources and assume that that's what's happening. And I always tell them that if it doesn't come in the form of an email from the University of Hartford, it's definitely not true. So just telling students to make sure to monitor their hartford.edu email for any important updates about things changing in the spring, which they might be. And then just being flexible and being able to change your plans as they come, because as we've seen with this semester, not everything is going to turn out exactly how we plan it, but that's why we have a backup plan for everything.
Right. And I think when residential life, correct me if I'm wrong, we always say expect the unexpected. So we always have plan A, B, C, D, and then it continues until we get to what we do. So, all right. We're going to move to questions, and I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. And I think, do people have questions?
I saw one that was sent to me privately. Can you talk about if people aren't allowed in the building, how and folks are packing up a lot of their stuff to go, how are we expecting them to do that and get their stuff out without any help?
So, it will be perhaps a little bit tough. What we have said to students, if they need assistance, is to ask a roommate or a friend from their building to help, take things down from their room to the door. And then once you are outside of the door, people are welcome to assist. It's just that we have to really limit the amount of people inside these residence halls. We've learned that, we don't know where people are coming from. I know that I've already gotten questions from parents coming from states with travel advisories. And they're not going to have a test before they get there. So we just have to limit it. I know it will be difficult, but I also know that our students are resilient and are great at that. Ioani and Ray, do you have any suggestions for students or parents that might be concerned about that?
Yeah, so oh, sorry, Ray, were you going to go?
You're good, go ahead.
Okay, so for the village, I've told my residents that if none of their roommates are home and they're having trouble moving things, they really just need to move it to the doorway, just because of how the village is set up. And then their parents or whoever's coming to pick them up can always just grab things from the doorway, which is what I've been informed by my resident director. So I think at least in the village, it's a little less hectic because it's just pretty much a shared space between everyone, and more than happy to help people move things to their car if they need to. But it seems like the main concern was just having heavy stuff moved to the doorway, which if you move it to the doorway and then your parents or whoever comes picks it up from the doorway, you should be fine.
Dining services, will it be available if for students who come back early, or it's not early, but come back that first entry point?
We are working through all of those details and hope to have information out about dining, I would say, by the end of the month. We have a meeting set up for next week to hopefully finalize some details.
Okay. When do students need to decide about spring housing without losing any money?
Really, I mean, the answer is as soon as possible. Our housing policy is that, students that live more than 60 miles away or are in their first or second year need to live on campus. However, we understand that some students might want to be remote, and that's okay as well. If that's the case, you need to work with our Center for Student Success and apply to be remote, and then we will work through with students on that process.
So I can kind of answer this, but you'll probably know more, Jill. So I know that moving in, whether you're from a travel advisory state or not, we're not going to have the big check-in at a parking lot and then moving around and getting keys and all of that. So do you have kind of a vision of what that might look like for moving in?
Well, we're still working on that a little bit. I know that from talking with our Dean of Students, Dean Isaacs, it will really be an effort from the division that we're going to be doing this. There will be some kind of a checkpoint where people will need to go through to get a little sticker that will go on your ID that will let everybody know that you are a residential student for this semester, but people are not picking up keys or those kinds of things. So we really are just going to figure out how do we do that. There will be a lot of responsibility placed on students that they have to submit their tests, and they will need to verify that they have submitted their test and it's been approved. I think, and Jessica, you can help with this, that a number of students did do that in the fall, but there were also a number of students that brought their tests with them, and it takes a lot of extra time. So we will certainly figure out how to do that in the easiest way possible. It may be that students that submit test results will get some kind of an email or something to show that they can hold up, and then they'll get that sticker when they move into their rooms, or it'll be waiting for them. But if you haven't submitted it, it will take more time, likely outside. So submit that test.
Yeah, it'll be easier for you, I would say, in terms of getting on campus, getting to where you need to go, not as much fanfare, not as many checkpoints. It'll be, I would say, more challenging for us from a logistics perspective of, before it was no test, no key, and that was actually pretty easy to manage. But, now everybody has their keys. So we need to work internally on what that looks like. But yeah, if you're coming from the airport in an Uber, you should be able to come, pretty much right up, no problems, without having to go through all those different checks like in the fall. Worst case scenario, a student isn't returning. How long will it take before we can retrieve their belongings?
It would look very different than it did last year. I think last year we just didn't know a lot about COVID. And so when students even came to campus, it was a very short window. They didn't have a lot of warning to, make plans. And then we only allowed them to be here a short period of time. So if, for some reason that would happen, certainly we'll follow guidance from the governor, even though we're not expecting that will be the case. But we will allow people on campus as quickly as possible with enough time to carefully pack belongings and things along those lines. We are, Ioani and Sheree can give a little bit more information, but we did provide 5 options to each student, and they had to pick one of those options as part of these pre-close meetings with their RAs. One was to return to campus to pack belongings. A second was to contact a vendor to pack, store, and or ship their belongings at their expense. And then check out of their space. The third was to have another campus community member, perhaps a roommate or something that lived closer, pack and remove belongings and check out. Fourth, to take things home. And I have talked to a few students that said they were going to do that, but not many. Or you can certainly, have things kind of packed and ready to go should that be the case. Or that, basically the university would dispose of items remaining in the room at students' expense. Ioani and Sheree, can you talk a little bit about what students have selected and the garbage bags and boxes that are available for students if they want them?
I know a lot of my students, again, I'm a freshman, I'm an RA in the freshman areas. One thing that's kind of a concern in our buildings is that we don't have elevators, but what a lot of students are, I know a lot of my students this year were saying that they were going to like pre-pack some of their items that they're not taking with them before they leave, just in case we can't come back. So it's easier for them to move out, and the Office of Residential Life also does provide the boxes and trash bags to pack things up. So that could be an idea also to kind of like be prepared before things happen, and kind of like put a box of things together or start packing some of your things away so it makes the move out process easier. And I know one of my residents also said that she was like mailing some of her things home. Like if it's like books and stuff she doesn't need or clothes that she doesn't need, she mails them back home so that if something does happen, she has less to take back with her.
I saw a question if the student wants to take a test outside, is there transportation, or if they want to use health services. So if they want to use health services, they can just call for an appointment. They do testing pretty much all day, every day. And if they want to go to, I think both the Go Health, Hartford Healthcare is right in Bishop's Corner, which the shuttle takes students directly there. And the Physician One is right outside of West Hartford Center, which the shuttle also goes there. So that's why we ended up suggesting those two, because they're very easy to get to within 2 to 4 miles away.
One exciting thing that we're doing over break that's new this year is that we are cleaning everybody's kitchen and bathroom if you live in an apartment on campus. So we are asking students to make sure that they clear off all of those counters, don't leave any dirty dishes in the sinks. But we have professional staff going in to do that. So we're really excited that they'll be cleaning floors and surfaces and all of those pieces. So people will come back, students will come back to a really nice and clean kitchen and bathroom. And Ioani, you want to talk about what students need to do to make sure that they can clean kitchens and bathrooms?
Yeah, so for my residents, at least, I've been telling them the exact same thing, not to leave any dirty dishes, to make sure that the apartment is as clean as you would like it to be if your parents came to see the apartment. I think that gets them to clean the apartment a little bit better. But yeah, I told them that you want to leave the space in a condition where you're coming back 2 months later and it's not disgusting, especially with food. That's one thing that we've been urging all residents is to take out their trash, make sure to take out recycling, make sure not to leave any perishable items besides like condiments and things in their refrigerator, and especially in the pantry, not to leave anything that could go bad, and to take those things with them. So.
I see a question. Are students who finish their in-person classes early allowed to leave campus before the 24th? Yeah, absolutely. And I would say in order to help reduce like the frantic everybody leaving on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I remember my own parents picking me up, the traffic and the stress. So absolutely. And we expect, just based on what we're hearing from students starting to leave, as early as next week once their last in-person classes. So they can certainly leave earlier, sure. A student a student can change from living on campus to being a commuter without going remote. So you can certainly be a commuter, but also take classes in person. Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can be a commuter. It's just if you switch to being a commuter, you have to fall in within those parameters of being a commuter, which again means living within 60 miles of campus and, or having already lived on campus for 4 semesters. And we've had some students that have decided to move off. I will remind people that this will be a Northeast winter. And so we expect snow and some of the roads to not be in great shape. And we are not going to have, places where people can kind of just stay with friends like we have been able to do in the past. So just keep in mind that if, you want to be a commuter, that you may have to travel in bad weather. We've also noticed that as the semester has gone on, we've actually had students that have moved back in with us because they said it just got longer and longer to do that commute even a couple days a week. So I just would encourage people to really think about, how they're going to be most successful academically, because certainly that is our priority number one. I see a question about UHeart shipping things home for students. We are not doing that. If for some reason we did not open, and again, I don't expect this to be the case, students would need to contract with a vendor. We would provide a list of local vendors that they could work with, but they would need to do that to figure out if they're going to have things shipped home, if they're going to have them stored until they come back, and what that will look like. That's one of the reasons that we're providing boxes for students, is that if they want to have things ready to go in their rooms and really have things kind of boxed up in the event they had to move, or at least some of the smaller things that would be harder to know who they belong to, we have those boxes available for students, and would just encourage them to do that. One of the things that's hard for us if space is shared is to know what belongs to who. So we really want to make sure sides are very clean, and that also students take home anything that might be of value to them. So that would mean sentimental value. If it's something that a relative, has given to somebody that is over 100 years old, please don't leave that in your residence hall space. Take it home with you, as well as money or anything that we know would be expensive, clothes, those kinds of things. There's a question here, Jess, about filling out the COVID questionnaire, how far in advance they need to do that.
The COVID questionnaire, which one's that?
The app, like how is that? It's the same day, correct?
Oh, for LiveSafe?
Yes.
Yep, same day.
Okay.
And like a bad driver, I do it every day on the way to work.
I think we've said we both do that. I do it when there's a couple of stoplights that are really long.
Yeah.
It's how fast it is that I can do it while I'm at a stoplight. So there was a question about if students are in quarantine, can they get tested during the dates mentioned?
Yeah, I responded. So typically when students are in quarantine, we don't encourage them to come to surveillance testing, just on the off chance that, they are potentially, exposed, and then we don't want them around a big group. But if there's some kind of special, circumstance or something, just you can email me at nicklin@hartford.edu or covidtest@hartford.edu, which will go to me anyway. I don't know why we have that, but either is fine, and we'll see what we can do. I contact with health services. I was also just responding to one about how a lot of PCR tests, and I said this earlier, are taking longer than the 72 hours. So that's something that I see evolving over the next few weeks, and we'll give recommendations. So In the spring, I always say the spring because it was warm. In the fall, when you came, we weren't accepting the rapid tests, but maybe that's something based on what, our local health says, that we can accept. Vault is a good solution. That's the one where you contact them, they send you the test, and then you send it back. That's something to consider doing. But we'll definitely send out some suggestions and have a better sense of what the governor says is acceptable, and what our options are looking like depending where we're at. So we'll definitely support you through that process.
And I think the other piece we have found too, that when we've run into some struggles in our office, we ask students and we say, so you're from New York, what have you done? Or you're from here. And it's amazing if they just ask around a little bit, that you kind of find out the tricks of the trade. And again, I hope that testing will speed up a little bit, especially across the country, as all of our students are heading back to campus around the same time. So hopefully there'll be a little bit more there. There was a question about shuttles taking students to the airport. Sheree and Ioani, do you know anything about transportation to the airport or train station?
As I know of, there isn't any transportation from campus to airport or the train station. I usually take the train back home, and I haven't heard of any transportation, but I don't know if that might have changed this year. So,
Yeah, I don't think so. How do you get to the train station then?
I had a friend that had a car, and like we would drive together, but because they're remote this year, I'm just gonna take a Lyft. It's usually like $12.
I think I saw a question in here too about like break housing forms and or the late stay forms. Those are really only available to students. So they will need to, they've gotten emails with links in them. So they just need to go in and take care of that, or go into self-service to complete those. And those are pretty simple. Ioani and Sheree, how long does it take to fill out something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's about like 2-3 minutes. It just asks you a couple questions about why you stay over winter break or past Thanksgiving. It's not a very long application.
Oh, sorry, I'm typing and I didn't mean. Are students supposed to label their belongings that they leave in the room?
Ioani and Sheree?
It would be really helpful. I know, especially in the complexes, if you have two roommates, if not even just in the complexes, but in the quads and things like that, it's much easier to do it that way. So that no, say for example, you do get a vendor to come and pack up your things, you don't have to say, okay, you'll make sure that you'll get your own stuff back because it has your name on it. Because especially in the complexes, things usually get shared between roommates, and you want to make sure you get your stuff back at the end of the time, because something like that the university wouldn't reimburse you for, because it's something that as simple as putting it on your side or packing it with your things.
Again.
I think we got lots and lots of labels too for the village or other places where there's common areas, to really make sure that things are marked so we would know who they belong to. And then also, you have to clean off, especially in our apartments and over in Regents Park, the counters so that we can clean bathrooms. So it'll be great. Just take those things, put them by your bed or on, the end table, dresser, those kinds of things, so that it's very clear what items belong to who.
So students electing to go remote during the break, will all their classes be accessible online? So I would contact the Center for Student Success, so css@hartford.edu. They're tracking all that. And after having gone through this for a whole semester, we know now like which classes absolutely cannot be taken online, must be taken in person, and the classes are coded that way. So like this semester, there should be flexibility in being able to take almost all classes remote, but we have a sense of which ones can't be taken remote. So if questions, I would go to the advisor or email css@hartford.edu. But you can certainly elect to go remote, later, over the break, depending. We know people want to see how things are. What's the status of the virus? What are things looking like? So we understand that. And I heard a little rumor, Jill, that there might be a encore parent hour coming in December about remote, or if you are remote now and coming back, or what that might look like. Is that true?
Absolutely. We had a meeting last week, and we're realizing that there's just a lot that's new for us. And if it's new for us and we're kind of struggling through it at times, we figure for parents that are making decisions that they may not be able to decide right now what's in the best interest of your student and your family. So we will be doing a parent hour in December, and if we need to do more in January, we will do them as well, to make sure people can have questions answered and really just understand what are the options and how to request those things. I would say if a student is not sure whether or not they want to be remote next semester, and this is one of the reasons that we're asking that question. So as RAs are going through these meetings with students, they are asking, what are your plans for next semester? And that's so we can reach out to them. If they're not sure, we'll encourage you to actually probably take things home and check out of your space, and then you can just check back in if you decide to come back. We're not going to give your space away if you're not sure, but we also want you to make sure, want to make sure that if you're not 100% sure that you're coming back, and especially if you're from further away, you probably want to take your stuff with you or have it stored locally, something along those lines. In terms of moving back in, if you happen to not be a person on the travel advisory list, but if you have a concern and need to come back sooner, we know that we did change the dates. We've received a few emails to our ResLife account, and we'll approve individuals on a case-by-case basis to come back. And there isn't a discount if you come back. It's just something that we're offering. A discount if you're coming back later. It's sort of like an extra added bonus if you want to spend some extra days with us because you're coming from a state with a quarantine status or with the travel advisory. So, but again, if you aren't from a travel advisory and there's a reason you need to come back, or there's a conflict, you already had plane tickets before you found out, please let us know and we'll work with you to see what we can do.
And Jill, you started with something fun, and I would say this for both of our RA guests tonight. Please share with your students, your kids, thank you. We've been able to make it this far because of their behavior. They're wearing masks and social distancing, and sure, we've had some challenges, but it's really up to the students, and they really have done a phenomenal job. So when you're at your Thanksgiving dinner, or you get to see your children, they really deserve a lot of credit because this has been hard on everybody. And they've been doing great. And I'm so unbelievably grateful for the weather. And when I'm walking around and I see people sitting outside together, and I mean, we've really, really been fortunate to have such nice weather during this. So, but really the students, they deserve a lot of credit because I'm sure you see in the news, not all of our peers are doing quite as well as us. And it's been a struggle. So, but it's the students, they're the ones following the rules and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and keeping us here and safe. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
I also saw a question, Jess, about where this will be where the recorded version of this is located. I'm not 100% sure.
Yep. So if you're on the website and then you go to for parents, I believe it's then right over to the left, you can see it says parent hour. It should be right there. Okay. And then all of the sessions are there recorded. Right.
And certainly we will probably have limited early arrivals. It really will be a case-by-case basis. We're just in a different place. This last fall, you can ask Ioani and Sheree, we didn't have any. Normally we have a lot of students that come back for special reasons, and we're just not able to do that. And, we're working through with some groups that typically do and what that will look like and if they will be back. But really our number one priority is safety. And we have to take our guidance from the CCIC and from the governor and just really listen, because we did really well this semester. We're really proud of our students and how well we did. And we hope and know that we can do just as well this spring. But we're just going to have to be really smart about our decisions in what we do. And please know, and I think we say this frequently, like sometimes what we do isn't really what we want to do. It's because we have to default to safety. I say this frequently, and I truly mean this. And Sheree and Yorani, please comment. Like a lot of these policies go against everything within my soul and my body. And it's not really what any of us want. But as somebody, I think, said in the chat, we want to be open. We want students to be here. We want them to be able to participate in lab classes and internships and student teaching and all of the things that they need to make progress towards their degrees. And so we just have to do things a little bit differently. Sheree and Yoani, comments on that?
I can definitely say that this year has been pretty interesting, like looking and seeing how my freshmen, in the beginning, my freshmen were like scared that they wouldn't make friends and that it was going to be hard for them to kind of adapt and get to know each other. But then as the year went on, and they saw that different programs were going on campus and that the guest policy did change in the complexes. Because of that, different things like that cause students to be a little bit less scared and nervous about different things, and kind of created a better environment amongst the freshmen and amongst students in general. So it definitely has been a very interesting year, and not everything is what we expect it to be, but we all have to kind of roll with the punches and like keep it moving and be there for each other, so it's not such a lonely and hard time.
Yeah, just going off of that really quick, I'm really proud of my residents. I know it was really difficult in the beginning, remembering to social distance and wear masks, and I've gotten to that point where I don't need to remind anyone ever when I'm walking on campus. So that makes me really happy, and I know that it was really difficult for them in the beginning, but just this weekend when I was talking to them, they were all very excited that we made it to November. I send them constant memes and emails reminding them that we wouldn't be here if it weren't because of them. So I'm just really happy that we made it this far and that we're one of the very few universities in the US who was able to stay open for the fall semester. So that's a milestone.
Yeah, we were really busy on campus. We had a lot of things going on. You know, sometimes when I talk to colleagues, they've been on campus, but there's not much going on. And I think, if anything, we have more activities sometimes going on weekends and things than we did before. So that's really exciting. And it's just been a really nice kind of vibe as you walk around campus, and all the vocal music that's outside and all the instrumental music. Like you can listen to a concert basically any day as you're walking from point A to point B. It's really been wonderful.
All right. Well, I think we can probably wrap it up in the interest of time. Thank you so much to our panelists and to our active participants. I always say it's nice to do this when you're engaged and have questions and have some discussion coming in. So thank you. Keep a lookout for updates, information coming from us. Again, as we get more guidance and things evolve, we'll continue to keep you updated. And maybe we'll see you next week for preparing for finals, but I have a feeling we'll also see you maybe December 8th for the remote coming back to campus process that we're also planning. So don't hesitate to reach out for questions, Office of Residential Life, or also if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, css@hartford.edu is a good place, and they'll get you connected to whoever you need to be connected to. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll be seeing you or talking with you soon.